Hi guys, and welcome to Dermatologist Talks, Science of Beauty. In this episode, we're continuing our series on au naturel hair. Essentially, it's hair that is so healthy looking that it doesn't require the use of styling products. In a previous episode, we shared about the importance of maintaining a healthy hair shaft for beautiful looking hair. Also, we covered the commonest causes of hair shaft damage, how to treat hair fragility, and the importance of embracing your natural hair, whether it's curly or straight, coarse or fine. If you've heard about the trend skinification of hair, well, this episode is probably of interest to you. The skinification of hair refers to the incorporation of advanced formulations with superior active ingredients for home treatment of the scalp and hair shaft, similar to what you would find in a cosmeceutical skincare regimen. So here's a good perspective to start with. Our expert dermatologist, Dr. Tiowan Lin from TWL Specialist Skin and Laser Center, will share her vision of what beautiful hair means, how to achieve it, and hopefully you can formulate your own concept of beautiful hair as well with the help of the cosmeceutical haircare range by Dr. TWL Dermaceuticals. Dr. Tio, as a dermatologist, what are your tips for attaining beautiful hair?
First of all, we want to make sure that your scalp is healthy. If your scalp is greasy, if you have dandruff, that's going to affect your hair cycle. Your hair will not grow out healthy.
Oh, I see. That actually makes sense. I know that Dr. TWL Dermaceuticals has a hair cosmeceutical regimen as part of a hair care ritual. It's designed to help with scalp conditions too. How can oily and flaky scalp conditions be treated?
The good news is it can be effectively treated with medicated shampoos. The over-the-counter degreasing shampoo from Dr. TWL Dermaceuticals contains zinc pyridine and salicylic acid, which is an effective method of inhibiting excessive fungal growth that can cause seborrheic dermatitis, which, as its name suggests, is both an oily and a dry scalp condition.
That's certainly good news for many of our listeners who suffer from dandruff and oily scalp. I think many of us are also interested in a sustainable home care regimen for our hair shaft. Well, as we've spoken about in a previous episode, when hair is healthy, we can often go sans styling products. Do you have personal tips on how we can achieve shiny, glossy, and smooth hair? Preferably with a hair care recommendation that we can adopt right in the comfort of our own homes without visiting a salon?
I'm going to share a bit about my personal experience. So I have been conditioning my hair for as long as I can remember. Specifically from the age of 11, I remember I stopped using the 2-in-1 shampoo, which was this Johnson & Johnson's baby shampoo, a 2-in-1 shampoo. But when I was 12, I started using a hair conditioner as a separate step from my shampoo. It's funny because it was because of an etiquette class I attended that my mom had sent me to when I was 11, because apparently I was turning out to be so rowdy. I think she felt I was very unladylike and needed some proper instruction. So I remember the instructor, it was a Miss Ida Ong, telling us then that we actually needed to have 2 different products for our hair and scalp. So I believe my first shampoo, and this is quite a funny anecdote because I don't see it being sold these days, is a brand called Vidal Sassoon. And that was my first exposure at the tender age of 11 in terms of learning more about the ingredients of shampoos. I remember that it was ammonium lauryl sulfate based rather than SLS based, and distinctly there was one of the reasons the instructor then recommended it to us because she said that it would be gentler on our hair shaft. I started using a conditioner also from then. So over the course of many years, I was definitely experimenting with various types of hair conditioners because I actually naturally have fine hair and I really wanted more volume. I worked as a model for a long time when I was in medical school, and the excessive styling does cause your hair to become more fragile. There are certain hairstyles which the hairstylist would use to increase the volume of your hair, and one of the most dreadful would be back combing, and that was really essentially trying to mat my hair so that I would have more volume. And it was really a nightmare trying to get out of that matted kind of mess after shoots and shows. So, I definitely paid a lot of attention to the health of my hair. It was also very important at the same time to have as virgin looking hair as possible whenever you presented yourself at casting. So all of these earlier life experiences I had certainly impacted the way I practice as a dermatologist now in terms of offering advice on hairstyles and hair care. And it's along the lines of just focusing on having healthy hair and minimal styling on a daily basis. So there was also something that I bore in mind when I went into the development of cosmeceutical science formulas for the hair shaft in particular, which is an area that is dominated mainly by the cosmetic industry and not something that dermatologists have spent a lot of time working on. So I felt that that was a void that needed to be addressed.
That's quite amusing to see how much of an impact one good piece of advice can really have. It's also so interesting to see how that one rule of having a good hair conditioner and shampoo has really shaped the way you practice and even inspired your research in hair cosmeceuticals. But with this trend of skinification of hair, I wanted to find out if there really is good research behind active ingredients in hair care cosmeceuticals.
So hair shaft cosmeceuticals are actually not very well studied. In fact, there is a clear void of literature on this topic. And as I mentioned, it's really just ended up being, the work of fabulous, great hairstylists, many of whom are my friends as well, and also the scientific researchers for cosmetic hair care brands. From a medical perspective, I do feel that it's very important to address the problems of hair fragility. And women are very aware as well that hair can be shiny or it can be dull.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the hair they showcase in hair commercials always looks so healthy, shiny, and smooth. I wonder if it's idealized, but it also looks so groomed and sleek that I wonder if it's also just styling products. But then again, they do show the model's head swinging and swaying around in these commercials, and it actually shows that the hair strands are moved so naturally as well, so I'm not really sure what to think.
So this perceived sense of softness, smoothness has to do with hair manageability as well, which is an important cosmetic consideration, but also a functional consideration that dermatologists bear in mind when we are monitoring the progress of individuals with hair or scalp problems. Finally, I feel that natural hair, beautiful hair also has to have great movement. So the best hairstylists who will actually create a hairstyle for you, and that is one that requires minimal styling and maintenance on a daily basis, and so you can still look great. First of all, it's the healthiest way, so to get a good haircut. And secondly, hair that moves is also hair that's beautiful because it looks natural. And the human perception of beauty, I feel ultimately at its core is about appreciating what is authentic and truthful. So I guess it's all consistent with what we already know. So using this as a basis for discussion, I want to emphasize the fundamental techniques and the methods that we can employ to achieve these outcomes. So in terms of hair shine, lack of shine is specifically because of accumulation of multiple layers of old dead keratin. So shine is essentially an optic effect created by light effects hitting the surface of your hair. So if you lack shine, there are these home remedies that tell you, for example, to apply apple cider vinegar rinses to increase your hair shine. And I think there is some sort of beneficial effect, and I do believe I've tried it before. And it's probably got to do with some alteration of the surface of the hair shaft, but I don't know specifically why. I'm not sure if that's actually been studied. But essentially, I don't do that on a regular basis. I've not done that beyond that one time I experimented. I think that was when I was in my mid-20s. Because, if apple cider vinegar gets onto your skin, you actually get some form of dermatitis. It's actually pretty caustic. Now, there is a benefit in terms of shampooing daily, especially in a tropical climate like Singapore when we're all sweaty and oily at the end of the day. And the additional benefit is going to be in the form of having shiny hair because the hair shaft is going to be properly cleansed. So the second method of ensuring hair shine and smoothness is by targeting your cuticle, the outermost layer of your hair shaft, and by ensuring that it is healthy. So what you need to do is to regularly distribute the natural sebum you have on your scalp all the way to your hair ends, okay? And this has to be with a brush. So as I mentioned previously, a paddle brush, a wooden paddle brush is ideal. The wooden bristles, first of all, are non-static causing, and also bamboo, for example, has naturally bacteriostatic effects, and that's the Sandalore bamboo pedal comb that we have under the Dermaceuticals arm. It's also sustainable. And finally, we know that the natural bristles, unlike plastic or metal bristles, they are able to absorb your sebum, the oil from your scalp. So when you're trying to brush your hair, you start from your roots where it comes into contact with your scalp, and you're trying to redistribute the sebum from your scalp onto the bristles. And then naturally, as you comb, the wooden bristles absorb the sebum and then redistribute it to the rest of your hair shaft. At the same time, the brushing effect detangles your hair and can increase hair shine as well. And it's also a form of scalp massage that can increase blood circulation, and all this is beneficial for your scalp.
I mean, I've never really put much thought into how the comb I use can affect how my hair looks. It's always been a tool that I kind of use pretty sparingly just because I have relatively short hair. It's really good to know that a good brush really does make all the difference. Well, then I have a question. What about combs? Do we not need that at all? I feel like when I get out of the shower, my hair is extra matted, and whenever I do use a brush, I find myself tugging and pulling just to get all the tangles out.
Smoothness has a lot to do with how manageable your hair is. So you definitely need to comb your hair. There are two steps to combing your hair. First is with a white tooth comb, which I always use in the shower. And a lot of beauty websites tell you that you should not comb your hair when it's wet. But frankly, what they really mean is do not brush your hair when it's wet. However, you should definitely comb it with a white tooth detangling comb when it's wet. For that, I use a carbon comb that was gifted to me by my longtime hairstylist, and that actually helps to smoothen out any tangles before it gets dry. And because by the time your hair is dry and it's tangled, it's going to be very difficult to detangle your hair without breaking your hair. So this is the reason why hairstylists actually comb through and cut your hair when it's wet, because it's much easier for them to detangle it. The second tip I have is to use a paddle brush when your hair is dry. A lot of styling can actually be omitted if you have a good paddle brush and you follow through with these steps of grooming. Hair dryers, I think, have evolved over the last decade, and all the hair dryers that I've used, they don't have excessive heat, and a lot of them have this ionic technology as well, which releases ions so that you have supposedly less static on your hair and it's less frizzy.
I see. Well, I definitely have to start incorporating these tips into my haircare routine. For now, I just do the bare minimum and don't even brush my hair before I dry it, just because it's such of a mess getting the tangles out. And now that you mention it, it's a lot harder to get the tangles out after my hair dries. So I was looking at the Haircare Ritual by Dr. T.W. Dermatologist, and I found that the conditioner is really unique in terms of its formulation. I actually haven't come across a hair conditioner that promises to thicken your hair shaft, and I'm kind of curious as to how this is possible.
The hair thickening mask is a conditioner which I use, and it's truly my prescription for au naturel hair. It's actually formulated with hydrolyzed wheat proteins rather than traditional silicones, which is the bulk of all commercial hair conditioners. And it's precisely what makes hair appear unnaturally flat, lacking movement, and not frizzy, but just not looking particularly appealing or bouncy, which is what women are looking for, actually. Hydrolyzed wheat protein is a great option for a hair conditioner because it mimics the natural feel and behavior of the keratin that makes up your hair shaft. It does a great job of repairing your damaged hair shaft by coating it. And secondly, there is this ingredient, Camellia sinensis, which helps to increase the growth phase of your hair. And that, is the anagen phase. Finally, it's also important to incorporate natural oils such as safflower oil, which we use in our Lippy Shine serum, as well as sea buckthorn oil, which makes up the Lipid Silk serum. These are antioxidant oils derived from plants that have been evidenced to repair the hair shaft by restoring its natural physical chemical properties.
Well, lots of cultures do actually incorporate the use of hair oils. I know that my Indian friends regularly use coconut oil to maintain their long, beautiful tresses. So I do know that there are many benefits of these plant oils, especially for hair. I've always been a little bit intimidated by hair oils though, because while I do want my hair to look more shiny and glistening, I don't want it to look or feel oily. But what about hot oil treatments? I've heard a lot about it and I've always wondered how I could do it myself at home.
How I use hot oil treatments is like this. I use a biological gel cap that's the Cutest Cool CMC gel cap, which you can heat up using your home microwave, or we have a mask bar system that heats it up very quickly, and then you wear it over wet hair that has these oils applied onto it after your shampoo. So you wear it for about 15 minutes or even longer, and then subsequently you rinse it off. So this is one method that I do on a monthly basis at least, but if not bi-monthly, that can improve hair elasticity, and it also definitely reduces the risk of hair fragility and can definitely repair hair breakage. We also should touch on grooming in terms of the type of hair elastics that you use to tie your hair. Living in Singapore, where it's very warm and humid all throughout the year, I think for a lot of women who have medium to long hair, it is very impractical not to tie up your hair at all. You may have heard it said that it is sometimes bad to have your hair tied up all the time because of traction. So the pressure that's exerted on your scalp can lead to something called traction alopecia. This is a type of hair loss that we see in ballerinas and figure skaters. In certain sports, if they're wearing helmets and your hair is always tightly pulled back or kind of being caught in Velcro straps, etc., which was the case for me when I was in fencing. The pressure and the pulling force can cause a form of scarring hair loss, where the hair follicles over time actually stop growing new hair. Now, from my personal experience in sports, it's really important to have good hair management strategies. In fencing, we have a face mask. To the layperson, it looks like a helmet, but it's called a face mask. And you wear it from the front. Your hair is a major issue for female fencers. I think everybody can understand. The wrong elastics, first of all, can cause your hair to break. wearing under the face mask where there's movement, and it can also be very painful if your hair is caught in a very tight elastic during a match. And the second thing is if it slips out, all this is just, not just uncomfortable, but also really inconvenient. So on a daily basis as well, when you do any sports in Singapore and overseas, you in temperate climates, it's definitely an issue if you don't tie up your hair because you sweat. And the kind of hair ties that one should use and for what purpose, I think is pretty relevant, but I'm not sure if I've heard anyone talk about this extensively. And I do because I just am bothered by it. So I actually tie my hair up most of the time because I don't like having hair all over my face. And when I work as well, I just find that it's a lot more convenient. So I've actually had a form of eczema at the nape of my neck before when I was using certain hair ties that would cause friction at the nape of my neck. I think it's got to do with sweat and, just me being atopic. I do have a tendency to develop eczema, and that's genetic.
Yes, when doing sport, how the hair is tied up, whether it's too loose or too thin, too high or too low, really does make a difference in comfort levels and can also affect your exercise too. I actually do know that there are certain brands of hair elastics that would not tangle and tug at my hair, so I've stuck to buying these brands for the longest time. But the problem is, after a while, they all start to disintegrate. And now that we're going to this more sustainable era, I also feel that it's environmentally unfriendly to be continuing to buy and throw away all these elastics so frequently.
The material of the elastic itself, it really matters. And, the two main types of hair elastics I now use. Day to day, I use one which is called the Smart Spiral. It's made from thermosensitive polyurethane, which basically conforms to the natural wave, shape, and texture of your hair so that it grips onto it in a way that offers maximum friction so it doesn't slip off, which is very important when you're doing sports. So I had that happen to me before, and it was incredibly inconvenient. So these Smart Spirals are engineered in a way that it stretches with the natural movement and texture of your hair, and also because of the angle at which it's designed, it leaves no mark on your hair, which I think for women is quite important because sometimes, we like to have our hair up and then when we have it down, we don't want that elastic sort of mark or crease. So besides, there's this annoying thing, which I think everybody with long hair can identify with, and that is a snag. So those fabric coated elastics always end up snagging and pulling out bits of your hair. It's almost like they have cracks in there that are just designed to trap your hair. So I never had that problem when I switched to polyurethane spiral elastics. So for the Smart Spiral, it's also great because the polymer coating stops it from slipping off, so you have maximum hold and minimal tension, and you can even create like a high ponytail with this and you don't feel that your scalp hurts, which for me, I do feel it when I wear tight hairstyles.
I mean, I've definitely gone through so many hair elastics just because of that reason. Every time I try to pull it out, it feels like it's tearing out a chunk of my hair, and it's always a game of wincing and yanking just to get the hair tie out.
In terms of the design of the hair ring, I feel that individuals with sensitive scalp problems will understand that it is actually very critical when you wear higher, tighter ponytail hairstyles, which are actually, really helpful to kind of give yourself like a little facelift. It does make you look more lifted and younger, and it's really an optical illusion. But you really can't have it in a truly super tight elastic for the whole day, because as much as it looks good, it will hurt after a while, and it does predispose you to getting traction alopecia as well. The other type of hair elastic that I use for more formal occasions or when I want to look a little bit more glamorous is actually a very simple black silicone coated hair tie. So the benefit of that is that as opposed to the spiral, which has the least amount of friction and traction on the hair and the scalp, this silicone hair tie maintains a very sleek look, and it blends in with the natural color of your hair. So it's available in black, clear, and brown. It's non-slip. The silicone coating does not cause any hair damage and snags, which is what you experience with your usual fabric coated elastics. And the smart elastics themselves are made from the silicone that is, way more, which is regarded as way more sustainable than plastics, because it's engineered from silica, and that's from sand. It's also far more durable. It's non-toxic to oceans and the environment. And as an interesting anecdote, my elastics have always, over a period of at best months, ended up being broken because of repeated use and stretching. But with these, I've actually never broken any one of these. And the only time was when my dog found it. My dog Ash, if you follow my Instagram, you would know who he is. He actually found it as a small puppy in the middle of the night, and then he chewed it to bits. And the next thing I knew was that he started vomiting. So he basically choked. So just a warning, if you have a pet at home, you might want to keep all elastics away from your pets.
That's so cute. I mean, I never really thought that there could be better elastics. I've always just gone with the simple black ones that they sell at the stores, so I definitely need to invest in some better ones that don't try to yank my whole head of hair out when I'm untying my hair.
So I feel that these are important characteristics of hair ties that are relevant for individuals who want to have, like healthy scalp, healthy hair, and also be comfortable in terms of how they feel throughout the day and when they do sports. The other thing, of course, is that a lot of hair ties, they tend to stretch. And then after a certain number of uses, it can't be used anymore, and there's a lot of waste actually. So the thing with the smart spiral is that it stretches, but then it can be easily shrunk back to its original size with just heat from your hair dryer. Something quite cool, which I have always wanted, it's a volumizer for my ponytail. So the Smart Pony utilizes a folding mechanism to volumize your ponytail, and there's just something perennial about wearing your hair in a ponytail, because I think as schoolgirls, it was like the mark of your, I guess, how cool or how in you were, how you wore your ponytail. And even today, it's my favorite hairstyle. I do love a braid as well, a loose braid, because I find that it's the best way to keep my hair out of tangles in humid weather. Anyway, the Smart Ponytail Volumizer is a very chic way to jazz up your hairstyle for a night out or even a nice dinner date in.
I have naturally fine hair, so volumizing my ponytail is something I'm always looking out for. Well, today we've learned important tips from a dermatologist on how to get shiny, smooth, and manageable hair, including a dermatologist recommended haircare routine and even how to choose the right material for your hair ties. Well, Dr. TWL Biomaterials has a range of hair elastics suited for those with thinning hair and sensitive scalps in order to minimize tension on the scalp and avoid hair breakage. If you are interested in developing or starting a haircare routine at home, do check out the full haircare ritual available on our podcast transcript, with featuring products by Dr. TWL Dermaceuticals, a cosmeceutical skincare and haircare brand from Singapore. Dr. Teo is also the author of Haircare Bible, Dermatologist Tips on Haircare and Hair Loss, which is available on Amazon Books, Apple Books, as well as Google. Well, we've certainly discovered quite a lot about haircare in today's podcast episode. You may follow Dr. Teo on Instagram at Dr. Teo Wan Lin for the latest podcast updates, and make sure to check out our website at www.scienceofbeauty.net for the full episode transcript.